So what is up everybody, it's Reality Keeper or Reality for short, and today we have some more patch notes of 1.3.21. These patch notes came out just a few hours ago and we are so early that we were just going to go ahead and just make them. We were going to make this tomorrow, so right now it is about 3 a.m. for me, but we're going to go ahead and make them today so we can go ahead and keep the train rolling. But if you guys like the video and like the content that I put out, we're trying to hit 250 so you can become a creator for the creator program for the first Descendant. So please, it'd be nice to be helped. Your boy is hungry. But without further ado, let's go ahead and get into these patch notes. Okay, and today what we have for the update 1.3.21 patch notes is a new infiltration operation called Legion Laboratory. This is accessible through the map, world map, Ancient Plains, and then Legion Laboratory is right there. It has all the new stuff of the we have also 2 special monsters within the Legion Laboratory. We have the Shadow Claw and the Spike Pincer. I feel like these 2 were already in the game. I feel like these are just a little bit like maybe character design, maybe character changes. What is entitled into this infiltration operation? We have the new ultimate weapon, Crime and Punishment. The blueprints are up in there. We also have Keelan's Transcendent modules that are up in there, and then you also get the rare basic materials for crafting the Crime and Punishment weapon. You also get six ultimate tier modules along with some balanced melee weapons and then some dimensional stabilization keys. And moving on, we also have the Descendant mission board. This is accessible, I want to assume, through the Invent tab, and this is basically to replace the invasion operation because they said they were going to take it out in the last patch notes that we did. This basically has all the other things that you need: Descendant XP, arcane tuning, coins or gold or something, stuff like that. So you also get all this other stuff like high value relics. You also get 1 ancestor module. You can do some of them up to 2 times, 4 times, even 1 time per day. Some actually you can do up to 20 times per day, and you also get a lot of stuff out of it. You can also get the dimensional keys from here, so it's all within grasp. So it makes grinding and looting and all this other stuff very, very fun and very, very easy to grind for. Moving on, we also have more equipment and modules. We also have a new weapon called the Crime and Punishment. It's a balanced melee weapon. It uses impact rounds. Its unique ability is called Final Verdict. On hit, increases condemnation gauge. Increasing condemnation gauge also increases condemnation stage. Pressing special attack button triggers Final Verdict, where the character spins forward, dealing damage to the enemies within range. On hit, Final Verdict triggers additional attack, and the damage increased based on the condemned stage. On hit, Final Verdict requires execution. Based on the condemnation stage, dealing normal attacks while execution is active, you can consume execution to deal additional damage. Basically what they mean is that the more Final Verdict you get, and it's basically like the Thunder Cage where you have the shockwave, then it goes into something else. Basically it's a stage after stage after stage, and then it will reset after like a few maybe like kills or so, maybe elimination. Also have 2 new Transcendent modules, one called Fierce Attack, and these are both for Keelan. Actually, these are both for Keelan. We didn't really get a lot of modules for Keelan, or these are maybe just reworked modules. I have no idea. I've played the character maybe like once or twice, and I'm not really sure what his kit is or what his kit entails. So anybody who has Keelan, this is specifically for you. Anyway, he has Fierce Attack Transcendent modules. It says piercing an enemy with Fierce Attack deals additional pierce damage to the target with the after image. Using Septic Turbulence quickly moves the character backwards and creates an AoE field that inflicts transaction effect. Using Tremor increases onslaught stack regardless of acidic decay's activation. The second ancestor the second Transcendent module is called Septic Turret. Attacking with a melee weapon increases acidic infusion level. Using Hunt makes the character charge into the target and deals damage to nearby enemies. Using Septic Turret deals continuous damage to nearby targets for a certain period of time. And attacking enemies with a melee weapon decreases additional damage and onslaught stack cooldown. If an enemy within range has acidic decay, additional damage and onslaught stack is increased. Also got 2 new trigger modules. 1 technical distribution. When a concealment type skill ends, it deals damage to targets within range. If a Colossus/Commander Tyrant Elite is within range, grants combat readiness to self. If there are no enemies nearby, recovers rounds for the current equipped weapon. The second one is called Bloody Deployment. When a HP is consumed by taking damage from enemies or using a skill, gains blood drop stacks, and using arcane enhancement type skill converts it to Bloody Edge. Bloody Edge consumes attacks and deal additional damage during melee attacks. This module will be really good for Glay, because if you used the Blood and Iron or made a build with Blood and Iron, she takes a lot of damage if you don't have very high HP from my build. So anybody else may have like higher HP from an ancestor or putting on the right modules, but from what I've experienced, I've lost more HP but gain a lot. I do have high defense mods on there, but given the fact how there's so many enemies shooting at you, and normally times I would use Blood and Iron, her build, which is a full melee build, I would use it in the newer operations, and it would just be so many enemies just crowding her. So I'm glad they added this, so you kind of like get a cycle. So it's like a blood transfusion. You kill enemies and you get more back. So I like this. Also have 6 new modules. I'm going to assume this is for weapons. So we have one called called Barrier Collector. When defeating an enemy, instantly recovers 14.5% of max block gauge at a 12.2% chance. Homaged, when the maintained block gauge is 60% or above while attacking, increases melee weapon critical hit damage by 77.5% of block efficiency. Barrier Overload, while blocking, increases maintained block gauge caused by 60% and melee weapon additional attack damage by 44%. Barrier Collector, when defeating an enemy, instantly recovers 14.5% of max block gauge at a 12.2% chance. Honed Edge, when the melee block gauge is 60% or above while blocking, increases melee weapon critical hit damage by 78% of block efficiency. Barrier Overload, while blocking, increases maintained block gauge caused by 60% and melee weapon additional attack by 49%. These are some really good ones. My favorite one, and I'm excited to see, is Honed Edge. When you block and you gain 60% back, and then increase melee weapon critical hit damage by 77.5%. Oh my god. That right there is amazing. Also have a new Abyss challenge boss called the Ice Maiden. I think that they're just cycling through Abyss bosses until they make a new one. I thought they were going to do Hangman because I was so curious about his boss type, but I was wrong. Also have some Descendant rebalancing / improvements, Glay / Ultimate Glay for her increased sensory, and a Transcendent module, Blood and Iron. They got a new effect for additional skill range has been increased by 30%. For her Rampage, for her hit check, improved hit checks for height when attacking enemies within range. For her Transcendent module Super Sense, she also got the skill range increased by 30%. For Lepic and Ultimate Lepic, His critical hit rate has been increased from 15% to 20%. And for his default skill grenade throw, it's a new effect added in effect so that a thrown grenade can be towed by a traction grenade explosion delay by lowered and then increased from 1.2 seconds to 1.8 seconds. For his overkill for fire interval has been lowered from 1.3 seconds to a full 1 second. For his Transcendent module nerve infiltration for his grenade throw, new effect add in effect so that the grenade can be towed by the traction grenade just like his default skill with the grenade throw. And in a new effect, 6,000 additional skill attack versus Colossus/Commander. For his Transcendent module increased efficiency, they lowered the fire interval for his increased efficiency from 0.65 seconds to a full 0.5 seconds. I like how with the Descendant improvements, they're actually implementing more skill attack for the Colossus and the Commanders. I really do enjoy that because the amount of damage you do is absolutely phenomenal. We also have Ultimate Sharon, and they said they have a director's comment. It says the tactical disruption trigger module first revealing during the last dev live has undergone mechanism optimization and additional balance adjustment during the final prediction process. Prior to the live event during the final review it was observed if that the cooldown of technical disruption was too short. Gameplay tended to devolve into a repetitive pattern focused on repeatedly canceling stealth rather than the utilization the skill as originally intended. To address the issue, developer team has adjusted the cooldown of the technical disruption trigger module to 5 seconds. At the same time, to preserve overall firepower despite the reduced activation frequency, the skill values has been increased compared to the dev live or demonstration version as shown in the last dev live, and these adjustments can now be finalized. So there are major changes compared to the dev live. On defeating standard skill power 4,600% to dev live version to 5,500. It's 5,050%. For her continuous damage of the electromagnetic field versus elite, skill power was 1,300% before, and with the dev live version increased to 1,420%. For her flash short sword, for her damage it was 1,761%, and for the dev live version they increased it to 2,259%. For the additional damage to the assassination target, for her 1,300%, with the dev live version 2,080%. With the Transcendent module release cutting force damage was increased from 1,645% to 1,799%. For her area suppression, for her damage, it was increased from 373.6% to 509%. For her focused edge for the dev live, additional damage to assassination target, 1,300% to 2,080%. And these, I say in my opinion, for Sharon, I haven't used her much, but I do plan on building her in I think this season or maybe next season, because I still have to do the whole, material grind and whatnot. But with these buffs and stuff for Sharon, this is amazing. I'm glad that they're giving characters, like certain characters that are not talked about, spotlight so they could actually get the spotlight that they deserve. For her common changes, Sharon based max HP has been increased by approximately 50%. Ultimate Sharon's max base HP has been increased by approximately 7%, and the arcane type of the passive skill has been changed to fusion. for her rules. So the modules have also something to do with her buffs as well. So these will be entitled and taken into consideration. So maybe change around some builds, because with all the buffs going around, she is going to need a entire build rework. So you guys better get your modules ready. For synchronization value, it's been lowered from 1.169 to 0.745. Also have some new improvement to the unique abilities of the two ultimate weapons. So for the Wave of Light, it says after reload, grants Splendor and Sparkle to self. Creates Solar Halo on the point of hit. While Sparkle effect is active, increases fire critical hit rate while Splendor is active. Creates Auroral around Solar Halo on fire. Hit on Solar Halo Auroral inflicts periodic damage to target within the range and weaken regeneration effect. Only one Solar Halo can exist at a time is removed for when the max number of arrows is reached. We also have the King Guard's Lance. When firing while aiming, deploys a King Guard Lance on the terrain. Up to 3 Guard Lances can be deployed. Guardian Lance is activated once generated and stays active for a period of time. The duration is extended when damage is dealt to enemies. Guardian Lance deals damage to enemies within range at regular intervals. If the damage is continuously dealt, its damage increases. Guardian's Lance damage does not trigger critical hits, but triggers multi-hits instead. When damage from multiple Guardian Lance overlap reduces damage, Guardian Lance's damage increase on targets are currently being attacked with firearms. So basically with the King Guard's Lance is that now instead of it doing singular damage, it triggers multi-hits when it's on the ground. I feel like that was the only change for the King Guard's Lance, and maybe damage increases for when the Guardian's Lance is now on the ground and you can only place 2. We also have some bug fixes with the Descendant. It says fixed an issue where the shield recovery figure of Valby and Ultimate Valby's passive skill water intake is incorrectly displayed in some languages. Fix an issue where Dia's avalanche skills duration does not increase as intended. Fix an issue where switching characters after using Dia's Transcendent mod, Blooming Ecstasy, Frostbloom inflicts skill inflicts damage to self. Fix an issue where abnormally turning speed is applied when using both controller sticks for Dia and Glaze skill. Fixed an issue where an abnormal value range of continuous damage of Lepig and Ultimate Lepig's overkill is displayed. That's a very interesting bug where using Dia's Blooming Ecstasy Frostbloom inflicts damage to self. That is a very interesting bug. I've never heard of anything like that. Even in playing other games, I've never heard of that. And the last one that we have right here is equipment and module. Fixed an issue where the applied value of overpower a power melee weapon ultimate tier module does not match the module tooltip's description. It says that in the category we have effect duration, melee weapon critical hit damage, and then for previous it was 5 seconds for the duration and 37.7% for the critical hit damage. For the critical hit damage, it was increased to 110.5%. For the effect duration, it was increased from 5 to 10 seconds. Also fixed an issue where the animation effect was displayed incorrectly when switching the weapon while aiming. Fixed an issue where the animation effect displays incorrect when using Serena's surge skill while dismounting a vehicle. Also fixed an issue where the Technical's rifle's fire rate exceeds its limit. Also another developer's comments. This patch applies the same fire rate ceiling to tactical rifles or other weapon classes. We have announced an additional balance adjustment to Greg's Reverse Fate, as well as a fix for hyper fire rate for tactical rifles. However, after much internal discussion, we decided not to apply the adjustment to this update. At the moment for Greg's Reverse Fate, the expected DPS of the building focused on the attribute damage option is greater than that of the building focused on fire rate. Since the structure will remain after the normalization of the fire rate, no separate increments adjustments have been applied. We continuously monitor the weapons balance by aggregating, community feedback in in-game data. They will make sure for a few further adjustments so we find a solid ground. I like how they're making like really great improvements for the Greg's Reverse Fate, because even for the Greg's Reverse Fate, this gun has been in the game for so long, and I'm glad they're making like adjustments for weapons that don't get a lot of attention or don't get talked about a lot. So I'm really glad they're doing that. Alright, I think that is it for the video. They actually had a really good set for patch notes for today, and man, I think my favorite part of the patch notes out of all of this has to be the Sharon buffs, because I don't see a lot of Sharons. It's either Serena, it's either Daya, it's either maybe like Esmo from time to time, it's either like Freyna, Bunny, but I like how they're giving more to other Descendants because they show that they care for their other characters, and I love when games do that and don't just fire focus on one singular character. But that's all my thoughts for the patch notes. If you guys like the video and would like to see more, make sure you guys like, subscribe, and put your favorite part in the video, and I will answer them or answer your questions. But until then, I will see you guys in the next one. Peace.